All right, this is going to be the review video for the Algebra 1 Unit 6 study guide. I'm going to just go through this and make sure that you are all aware of what you need to know. And I'm going to do examples of each type of problem. First things first is more or less vocabulary. You need to be able to know the definitions to the items you see at the top here: solutions, roots, x-intercepts, zeros. You need to know they all refer to the same thing. And what that is. You need to know focus, directrix, and you need to know the definition for a quadratic function. Also, you need to be able to identify the parts of a parabola. To remind you, we went over that, and there is some information in the notes about that from lesson 2 and 3. You see a diagram right there. So you should be able to use that. You need to know what type of transformation has occurred in a graph. Those are the 3 basic types of transformations that we went over. And we discussed that in that lesson, just kind of how to basically tell which type of transformation has occurred. And that's the way they asked it to you in the lesson. Then I give you a breakdown of what each type of question is going to look like. In general, there's one type of question on the test where they ask you to match a standard form equation with a vertex form equation, because we know we can write these equations in different ways. They might give us something like you see here. Let me jump over to my notes. And let's hop up here and go to, let's try this again. There we go. And they might give us this equation here and want to know which one of the 3 options matches that equation. So what we're doing there is we're going to first type this equation into the graph, x minus 4 squared minus 1. Let's go here. X minus 4 squared minus 1. That's y equals. Oops. Okay. And they want to know which one of these. So all we're doing is we're trying to see which other one of those equations gives us this same graph that we see here in green. So we'll try them one at a time. Y equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. Equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. I think I typed that right. Plus 3, yep. And you can see that purple graph does not match the green graph. So we move on to the next one. Y equals x squared minus 8x plus 15. Minus 8x plus 15. And we can see the green and the purple are the same graph. So that tells me right away that this would be the correct response because the graphs match each other. That's pretty much it. Same thing with this second type of question. They're going to give you 2 points. Here I have 0.4, negative 15, and 0.0, negative 7. So I'm going to go over to my graph, and I'm going to type those in. 4, comma, negative 15, 0, comma, negative 7. So you can see those are in green here on the graph. We have those points there and there. And then I just need to decide which of these graphs has those points in it. So let's try the first one. Y equals x squared minus 6x minus 7. Y equals x squared minus 6x minus 7. Oh, and that's very convenient. We can see that both green points exist on that line. And so I would stop at that point because I've found the correct response. I don't even need to check the others. So as long as it matches on those both points, that is the correct equation. Then they have some questions where they want you to describe quadratic functions. When they say describe, it means like you need to be able to identify certain parts. So you need to be able to identify the vertex, y-intercept, axis of symmetry, and the direction of opening. So let's put this equation in, x squared minus 4x minus 12. Let's close this down, x squared minus 4x minus 12. And then we need to identify each of these items. Let's go through it one at a time. First things first, the vertex. Remember, the vertex is the point where it goes at its lowest or highest point, depending on where it opens. This one is 2, negative 16. So that would be my vertex, 2, negative 16. It opens up. We can see that just in our graph, pretty straightforward. The graph opens upward. And then the next thing it asks for is to find the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. Remember, the y-axis is the vertical axis. So that's this point right here at 0, -12, or you can just put -12. And then the axis of symmetry is the x value of the vertex, because if you remember, the axis of symmetry is the line that sort of divides that parabola into two equal parts. So it's going to be at x equals 2. At x equals 2, we have an axis of symmetry. So write that down. X equals 2. And so that's the things that you need to be able to identify. Vertex, y-intercept, axis of symmetry, and direction of opening. And it's just that straightforward by graphing. Also, using graphing to solve quadratic equations. You're welcome to use other methods, but the graphing method is going to be the simplest, most reliable. So we'll go through these one by one. The first one is x squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. X squared minus 5x minus 24 equals 0. And we can see we have intersection points at -3 and 8. So the solutions would be x equals -3 and 8. And I can continue to do that for all of these. 2x squared plus 5x minus 7. 2x squared plus 5x minus 7 equals 0. I have solutions at -3.5 and 1. X equals -3.5 and 1. And so that would be my answer. And then lastly, x squared equals 36. X squared equals 36. We have solutions at -6 and 6. X equals plus or minus 6. And believe it or not, that's really it. You can see how heavily you can rely on the graphing to get your solutions to most of these problems. So I would focus on that. I would focus on knowing all of the different vocabulary words that we talked about and being able to identify the types of transformations and the parts of a parabola. But beyond that, you can test later this week. Please reach out to me if you have questions, and then we will have testing sessions like I described on the classroom page.